Hello once again. We are live at Terra Tutoring. Today we're going to be solving some more homework problems that you all submit, as well as solving some SAT math questions in the meantime. So let me go ahead and pull up the Dropbox submission folder. No homework submitted there, so we will carry on with the SAT practice problems. Give me 1 second. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started, shall we? An economist modeled the demand Q for a certain product as a linear function of the selling price P. So Q is a function of P. Q of P is equal to, the demand was 20,000 units when the selling price was $40 per unit. So $40 per unit is P. So recall that it'll look something like P comma Q of P. This is our ordered pair. Secretly, the question is giving us P comma Q of P. So $40 per unit is P. 20,000 units is Q of P. And the demand was 15,000 units when the selling price was 60 per unit. So 15,000 over here. Based on the model, what is the demand in units when the selling price is $55 per unit? And recall that the key thing here is that this is a linear function. So we know it's going to take the form of y equals mx plus b. And it's just a matter of figuring out what m and b are. So to do that, first we can use the slope formula to determine our slope. So let's do this to be x2 comma x1, this to be x2 comma y2, and this to be x1 comma y1. So we'll have that 20,000 minus 15,000 over 40 minus 60. This is equal to 5,000 over negative 20. This gives us negative 1,000. So our slope is negative 1,000. So far, what we have is y is equal to negative 1,000 x plus b. So now we just have to substitute one of these ordered pairs, either one. I'm going to choose 40, 20,000. So 20,000 is our y, or in other words, our Q of P. And we could even remodel this as negative 1,000 P plus B. Same concept here. We have a linear function. So then 20,000 is equal to negative 1,000 times 40 plus B. This quantity here is negative 40,000 plus B, 20,000 here. So we just add 40,000 to both sides to get that B is equal to 60,000. So we've completed our slope-intercept form. We have that Q of P is equal to negative 1,000 P plus 60,000. And so then the question asks, based on the model, what is the demand in units when the selling price is $55 per unit? So we just have to substitute 55 for P. Q of 55 is equal to negative 1,000 times 55 plus 60,000. And I don't have enough, I do have enough space for those zeros. So then this part, negative 1,000 times 55, gives us negative 55,000 plus 60,000 is just 5,000. So that's wrong. Where did we go wrong? Let's see. It should be somewhere between 20 and 15,000. So let's see where we went wrong. First of all, did we calculate the slope to be correct? Is 5,000 divided by negative 21,000. Negative 1,000 rather, and it is not. It is not. It is negative 250. That's where we went wrong, guys. Again, trying to do mental math. I am not the sharpest with mental math, so I should not rely on it too much. But last I do, and someone verify my mental math. Is this in fact? Yes, negative 250. So let's start over from this part. We now have that. We'll do this a little more quickly since we went over the process already. So we substitute an ordered pair, so we'll substitute 20,000 here. Recall that our ordered pair was 40, 20,000, so we can substitute 40 here plus b. This gives us negative 10,000, right? Yep, plus b is equal to 20,000. Therefore, b, if we add 20,000 on both sides, is equal to 30,000. So instead, our equation, our linear function, should be that q of p is equal to negative 250p, negative 250p plus 10,000. And then we can substitute q of 55 is equal to negative 250 times 55 plus 10,000. But that can't be right either, can it? 30,000. Yeah, 30,000. That's what I was missing. Plus 30,000. That's more correct. All right. If somebody could do this math for me, I'll try to do it in my head. It's like 12,500 plus 12,000, 13,750 or something like that. Let's use a calculator just so we don't mess this up. Let's use a calculator. 250 times negative 55 is in fact negative 13,750 plus 30,000 gives us 16,250. So that would be your correct answer, and that is correct. So I'll keep my calculator here up for basic calculations just in case we need it. Any questions on this one? The key thing here is identifying that the question recognizes this to be a linear function, and they give us also, it's key to recognize that they're giving us two ordered pairs. That q is a function of p, that q is the demand, p is the selling price. So the demand was 20,000 rather, that's q, and the selling price was 40 per unit, which is p. So that's 40, 20,000. And how do we know to do 40, 20,000 and not the other way around? Well, the key thing here is recognizing that p is the independent variable because q of p is the dependent variable. The dependent variable is the one that changes when the other one changes, whereas the independent variable does not change when the dependent variable changes. It's the other way around. So p is kind of what affects q and not the other way around. So that's how we know how to put the order. The independent variable goes first, the dependent variable goes second. And then we order our ordered pairs, we can use that to calculate our slope. After calculating our slope, we can use one of the two ordered pairs, either one, doesn't matter which, to calculate for the y-intercept, which is b. So then we plug in one of our ordered pairs, solve for b, and we get 30,000. Using this linear function, we then substitute $55 per unit to be p and solve for q of p, which we got to be 16,250. That's just the recap. If anyone has any further questions on this, I know I was moving through that recap a little fast. I'm going to check the homework help shared folder to make sure that nobody has uploaded any homework questions. They haven't, so we're going to move on to the next question. So The table shows two values of x and their corresponding values of y. The graph of the linear function representing this relationship passes through the point 1/4, comma a. What is the value of a? Well, similar to the last problem, we know that this is a linear function or linear equation, and we can calculate the slope based on what we have, the information that we have. So let's choose x2, y2. Again, doesn't matter how you choose them, what order you choose them in, but I'm going to choose 6, 45 to be x2, y2, and x1, y1 will be -12, -45. Excuse my handwriting, by the way. And then we're going to use the slope formula to calculate for the slope. So 45 minus -45 over 6 minus -12. Now, as you all know, these double negatives will instead become positives. So 45 plus 45 over 6 plus 12. We get 90 over 18, which is just equal to 5. So we've determined the slope of this to be 5. So it takes something of the form y is equal to 5x plus b. Now we just have to do what we did in the last problem and substitute one of the ordered pairs. I'll choose 6 and 45. So y is 45 when x is 6, and solve for b. So we get that 45 is equal to 30 plus b. Subtracting 30 from both sides gives us that b is equal to 15. So we know our linear equation is y is equal to 5x plus 15. And now we just have to substitute 1/4, comma a and solve for a. So a is equal to 5 times 1/4 plus 15. This gives us 5 over 4 plus 15. And then we have to get a common denominator here between 1 and 4. To do that, we have to find the least common multiple of these two denominators. So the multiples of 1 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, etc. We'll see that the least common multiple is 4. So we just have to make the fraction on the right side of the plus sign to be a 4. How do we do that? Multiply by 4 over 4 to make it an equivalent fraction that appears a little different. So this is 5 over 4 plus 60 over 4 equals 65 over 4. Let's double check with the answer key that that is the correct answer. And it is 65 over 4. If there are no questions on this, we can move on to the next one. First of all, in the meantime, let me check on the shared folder. We don't have any submissions. I guess I should put in the chat, submit your homework questions in the about, in the link in the about section. Why do we still have chat box notifications? I don't know. I just realized you can't see the chat box, so we're gonna have to make that a different color. So let's change the color of that to black. That might work better. There we go. Now you can actually read the text, the chat. Hold on. All right. Let me check out YouTube to make sure I did put the link in the description. Just want to double check. How do I go to my live? There we go. It is in the description. Okay, awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. Let's continue. I'm going to check the Dropbox one more time. Nothing there. So now let's move on to the next question. A certain apprentice has enrolled in 85 hours of training courses. The equation 10x plus 15y equals 85 represents this situation, where x is the number of on-site training courses and y is the number of online training courses the apprentice has enrolled in. How many more hours does each online training course take than each on-site training course? So x is the on-site, y is the number, so x is the number of on-site training courses. So this requires a bit of interpretation. That 85 is the number of hours that the apprentice has enrolled in training courses, and therefore 10, let's write this out. 10 times x plus 15 times y is equal to 85. 85 has units of hours. X has units of, let's say, number of on-site courses. Y has units of number of online courses. So naturally, 10 has the units of hours per one on-site course. Because if we multiply this times a number of on-site courses, we get just units of hours. So we must have units of hours per one on-site course. Similarly, y must have units of hours per one online course. So that's what the interpretation of these numbers is. So how many more hours does each online training course take than each on-site training course? To do that, we just subtract the number of hours an online course takes, which is 15, minus the number of hours that each on-site training course takes, which is 10. So our answer is simply 5 hours. If there are no questions on that, we can move on to the next one. Hiro and Sophia purchased shirts and pants from a store. The price of each shirt purchased was the same, and the price of each pair of pants purchased was the same. Hiro purchased 4 shirts and 2 pairs of pants for $86, and Sophia purchased 3 shirts and 5 pairs of pants for $166. Which of the following system of linear equations represents the situation if x represents the price in dollars of each shirt and y represents the price in dollars of each pair of pants? So y, well, let's say x is shirts, or rather the price of shirts, and y is the price of pants. That means that to find the total cost of a individual's purchase, we have to multiply 4 shirts, in Hiro's case, 4 shirts times the price of the shirts, plus 2 pairs of pants times the price of pants, and all of this totaled to $86. And then for Sophia's case, we have 3 shirts times the price of shirts, plus 5 pairs of pants times the price of pants. All of this totaled to $166. And we see that A looks exactly like our system of equations, so A must be the correct answer. Now let's verify it is in fact A. Any questions on this one? I'll wait a few seconds for questions while I open the shared folder that we have for the homework help. So bear with me, I'm looking out for questions while I check the shared folder. By the way, guys, we haven't gotten a single submission yet for homework help, so if you want to be the very first person to get live homework help from Terra Tutoring, you could be. You could be. Just submit your question in the Dropbox link in the About section on Twitch or the description on YouTube. All right, let's move on to the next question. The equation shown gives the estimated amount of diesel, D, in gallons that remains in the gas of a truck after being driven X miles, where 0 is less than or equal to X is less than or equal to 480. What is the estimated amount of diesel in gallons that remains in the tank of the truck when X equals 300? So this is quite simple. All they're asking us to do is calculate D when X equals 300. So if D is equal to X 16 minus X over 30, you just replace X with 300. And then we get 16 minus, 10 is equal to 6. So B is our correct answer. That one's pretty simple. It's just recognizing that you have to substitute the value that they give you for X in the equation that they give you for D. I'll wait a sec for questions while I check the shared Dropbox. Nothing so far. So we'll move on to the next question. This is a, does this say how difficult it is? No, it doesn't. All right, that's okay. In the given system of equations, A and B are constants. The graph of these equations, the xy plane intersect at the point 4, y. What is the value of A? Let's see. So A and B are constants, which means that they make up just some number. Let's put both of these in the form of y equals mx plus b. Well, actually, let's put this in the form by. B times y is equal to whatever. So first we have ax plus by is equal to 72. And at the end, I'll explain why we chose by instead of just y equals mx plus b. So to solve for by, we subtract by ax on both sides, and we get that by is equal to 72 minus ax. Then we're going to substitute for, we're going to solve for by in the bottom equation. So 6x plus 2by is equal to 56. Subtracting 6x from both sides. Let's create a new page. We get that 2 times b times y is equal to 56 minus 6x. Finally, dividing by 2 on both sides gives us that by is equal to 28 minus bx over 2. Oh, sorry, that's a 6. Minus 3x. Almost couldn't read my own handwriting there. So now we have two equations that equal by, and we can set them equal to each other. Note that the graphs of these equations, like the problem says, intersect at the point 4, y. So we can substitute 4, y into our equivalents. So let's set these equal to each other. 72 minus ax equals 28 minus 3x. Recall that they say that they intersect at the point 4, y. So we have 72, substitute 4 for x. 4 times a is equal to 28 minus 3 times 4. So then we have 72 minus 4a is equal to 28 minus 12. 28 minus 12 is 16. Then we add 16 on, or subtract 16 from both sides. Add 4a on both sides. That gives us 64, right? No, 66. 56, sorry. 56. I'm bad at mental math, guys. 56 is equal to 4a. Divide by 4 on both sides. Gives us that a is equal to 14. 14. Which would be letter choice D. So how did we know to solve for by in these equations? The main thing is we notice this pattern, and I'll draw on the problem. We notice this pattern here. We have b. That's a little thick. How do I change the thickness? There we go. We have by, and we also have 2by. So we know that we could simply simplify it to the form by, and these are the only terms in the respective equations that even have b. So if we're able to set them equal to each other, by is equal to something and by is something equal to something else, we can entirely get rid of b and never have to solve for it. So that's why we put it in the form of by is equal to, 72 minus ax, and by is equal to 28 minus 3x. That's why we did that. I'll recap the process in case anyone is interested. So we had, starting from here, we solved for by for both of these equations. Got by is equal to 72 minus ax, and also that by is equal to 28 minus 3x. Setting those two equal to each other, we get that 72 minus ax is equal to 28 minus 3x. And they tell us that these graphs, the graphs of these equations, intersect at the point 4, y, where 4 is x and y is, well, y. So we only have x in our equation, so we can just use that. Substituting 4 for x, we get 72 minus 4a is equal to 29 minus 3 times 4. And then we just simplify those expressions and solve for a to get 14. And it is in fact 14. So I'm going to check the shared folder. Make sure we have no homework submissions. We do not. So next we are going to solve another SAT problem. A store sells 2 different sized containers of a certain Greek yogurt. The store sales of this Greek yogurt totaled $1,277.94 last month. The equation 5.48x plus 7.30y equals 1,277.94 represents the situation, where x is the number of smaller containers sold and y is the number of larger containers sold. According to the equation, which of the following represents the price in dollars of each smaller container? So again, if we analyze the units, here let's first write our equation. 5.48x plus 7.30y equals 1,200, let me rewrite that too, 277.94. You know that this right hand side has units of dollars, and that x is the number of small containers and that y is the number of large containers. So what units should 7.30 and 5.48 have? Well, in order for this equation to make physical sense, this term, 7.30 times y, has to have units of dollars. and so does the term 5.48 times x. So essentially what we're saying is that this 7.30 has to have units of dollars per one large container. And that this 5.48 has to have units of dollars per one small container. Oops, let's rewrite this so that it's clear what we're saying. So, now the question asks, which of the following represents the price in dollars of each smaller container? Well, we determined that 5.48 has units of dollars per small container, and that's essentially what the question is asking. So our answer comes directly from the equation. We don't have to do any fancy math or anything like that. We just identify which of these numbers, whether it be 5.48x or 5.48x, it's asking for the price of each smaller container, right? So not the total cost of all smaller containers. So that's how we know that it is 5.48, because 5.48 has units of dollars per one small container. So with questions like these, it's helpful to do an analysis of the units to understand what each number means. When you get a little practice with the analysis of units, it becomes a little more intuitive. So you might not have to break down specifically the way that I did the units in order to identify what each number and variable means in an equation. But starting out, if you don't have that intuition, totally fine. You can do this unit analysis to get that 5.48 is the correct answer. So letter choice A. A, 5.48. So again, if anybody has any questions on their homework that they need help with, feel free to leave it in the link in the description or in the about section, depending on whether you're on YouTube or Twitch, and we will get to those as soon as we can. And feel free to chat with me while we do homework questions. I love getting to know you all and hearing your stories about, what you're studying or what subjects you enjoy, or just casual chatting about, anything really, like what games you like, or what hobbies you're into, what sports you do, or music instruments you play, things like that. So if you ever want to chat while we do this tutoring session, or really homework help session, feel free. So, which equation has the same solution as the given equation? This one's simpler than we might think. We don't actually have to solve each of these equations and see which one has the same value of x. What we can do is first recognize that we can divide both sides of the equation by 7, because this is multiplied times this parentheses, this set of parentheses. So we have that 2x minus 3 is equal to 63 divided by 7. So 2x minus 3 is just equal to 9, and we see that that is answer choice A. If there are no questions on this one, we'll move on to the next question. My beard is getting long, guys. But anyway, as always, I'm checking the homework help folder on the side, but there are no submissions. So let's do this problem. Line K is defined by y equals 3x plus 15. Y is equal to 3x plus 15, and this is for, let's rewrite that 5, line K. And then we have line J is perpendicular to K in the xy plane. What is the slope of J? So recall that for perpendicular lines, when you have something in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept, all we have to do is take this slope. If it's not a fraction, write it over 1, and do the flip and flip. So that means that we flip the sign, that's from positive to negative, and flip the numerator and denominator. So negative 1 over 3 is the slope of line J, because line J is perpendicular to K. So perpendicular lines have this pattern where you just flip the sign, positive to negative or negative to positive, and then you flip the numerator and denominator. So the slope of line J is just negative 1/3, which is A. There are no questions about that, or no homework questions. We will move on to the next question. The point 8, 2 in the xy plane is a solution to which of the following systems of inequalities? So this one's quite simple. We just have to recognize whether 8 and 2 are greater than or less than 0. So is 8 greater than 0, 8 less than 0, or 8 equal to 0? Or really, because we're working with less than and greater than, we really only have to determine if 8 is greater than 0 or 8 is less than 0. We know that 8 is greater than 0, and 8 is our x value, so x should be greater than 0. And then same thing is 2 less than 0 or 2 greater than 0. This is our y value, and we know that 2 is greater than 0, so y should be greater than 0. We see that this corresponds with letter choice A, and A is the correct answer. Just to be 100% sure, A is the correct answer. Oh, we got a first-time chatter, but it's a bot, so we gotta ban the bot. I don't yet have Seribot on here. I should get Seribot. Sorry about that, guys. So, our next thing to do is to check the homework help folder. I got nothing, so let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Although I will step away for a little bit as I go use the restroom. So enjoy these tunes. I'll be right back. All right, we are back. How's everybody in the chat? Hope to hear that everybody's doing well. Let me turn the music back down. just a bit. And let's continue with our homework help session. Nothing's been uploaded just yet to the homework help shared folder. So let's go ahead and move on to the next SAT question. So this one states that the solution to the given system of equations is x comma y. What is the value of x plus y? Well, we can solve for x and y independently and then substitute that into this expression x plus x plus y. So first, top equation, 5x is equal to 15. Dividing by 5 on both sides gives us that x is equal to 3. Negative 4x plus y is equal to negative 2. Substitute 3 in this expression is equal to negative 2, equal to negative 2. So negative 12 plus y is equal to negative 2. Add negative 12, subtract or add 12 on both sides. Same thing, subtracting negative 12 and adding 12 on both sides. Same thing. So we get that y is equal to 10. Therefore, x plus y is equal to x plus y is equal to 3 plus 10, which is equal to 13. If there are no questions on that, we can move on to the next question. Now let's double check that that is the correct answer. It is. Now, there is a second way that we could have done that, a little faster, which is to recognize that the top equation, if we add the top equation to the bottom equation, 5x plus negative 4x gives us x plus y is equal to 15 minus 2, which is just 13. So that would have been the faster way of doing it if we can recognize that pattern. But either method is valid, and the first method doesn't take all too long. But if you can recognize the pattern, it will save you some time. Any questions? How's everybody doing, by the way? Let me check something, because I don't believe that my noise suppression is working as intended. That's interesting. Well, that's all right. That's all right. You might hear a little bit of background noise with the fans on my computer or just the room noise, but that's all right. What value of p satisfies the equation 5p plus 180 equals 250? This one is really just asking us to solve for p. And we see that it asks us to find the value of p that satisfies the equation. That's another way of saying find p in this equation. So 5p plus 180 equals 250. Subtracting 180 from both sides gives us 70. 5p is equal to 70. Dividing by 5 on both sides gets us that p is equal to 14, which corresponds to letter choice A. And if you really want to be sure, you can substitute p, which is 14, back into this equation right here, and then do that. If there are no questions on this, we'll move on to the next equation after I check the shared Dropbox. Alright, the cost of renting a backhoe for up to 10 days is $270 for the first day and $135 for each additional days. Which of the following equations give the cost of y in dollars of renting the backhoe for x days, where x is a positive integer and x is less than or equal to 10? This one's interesting. Really, what we have is something in the form of this. So we have that our first day we're charged $270. Every day after, we're charged 135 times not x, but x minus 1. So for example, what I mean by that is if we're being charged, let's say, if we rent the backhoe for 3 days, then the first day, let me do this in orange, first day, we're being charged 270. Every day after, the second and third day, we're being charged 135. But if we substitute 3 in this equation, we'll see that 3 minus 1 is 2. So we're only getting charged $135 for 2 days, right? So that's where the x minus 1 comes in. We get charged $135 for every day after the first one. So 1 day fewer than our total number of days. So we have 270 plus 135x minus 135. Combining like terms gives us 135x plus 135. So y is equal to 135x plus 135. If we test this, we can see that if we substitute 1, we get 135 plus 135, which is equal to 270, as we expect. So, D would be your correct answer choice. Yes. I'm going to check the homework help folder, which I think I accidentally closed. No homework help questions have been submitted. One second, making sure that I'm not missing any work calls. The front of a roller coaster car, and I think this will be the last one that we do. The front of a roller coaster car is at the bottom of a hill and is 15 feet above the ground. If the front of the roller coaster car rises at a constant rate, keyword constant rate of 8 feet per second. Anytime you have a rate or the word per, we know that to be our slope. So 8 feet per second. Which of the following equations gives a height h in feet of the front of the roller coaster car s seconds after it starts up the hill? So it would be 8s plus 15. So 15 is the initial height. I always say that our y-intercept is like our initial value, initial fee, anything that is one time, a one-time charge, a one-time deposit, anything that occurs just once is our y-intercept. And the rate, or the keyword per, indicates the slope. So that's how we know that the equation that models this scenario is in fact A, 8s plus 15. So just by utilizing keywords, we can set up our linear equation. And the word constant rate indicates that this is linear. Any function with a constant rate is linear. Is linear. Anyway, I want to thank you all so much for joining me for this homework help live stream. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your morning, or I guess not morning, but evening is what I meant to say. So take care, everybody. Thank you so much. I know this is a short live stream. I plan to do longer ones when we can get some people in here. Probably not the best approach. What I should probably do is just keep at it, but we'll work up our live stream endurance over time. So I get tired pretty easily, which is okay. But I think doing these streams more often, I'll build some endurance to do, maybe 2 hours or 3 hours at a time, and that's our goal. I think 3-hour streams are our goal for this homework help session. It gives people enough time to get out of school and get on the stream if they want to get some homework help. So thank you all so much for joining me.